Give me 15 minutes and I'll teach you how to master Claude Cowork. If you've been seeing people talk about AI agents, copilots, and all these new ways of working, but you're still not fully clear on what Claude Cowork actually does or how to use it in a way that feels practical, then this video is all you need. See, most people right now are using AI tools at a very surface level. They ask a few questions, they get a decent answer, and then they go back to doing all the real work themselves. But Claude Cowork is different. It is not just about answers, it is actually an AI agent that does execution for you. And I know it can feel confusing at first. You might be wondering, is this only for developers? Do I need to use this in the terminal? Or what kind of task should I trust it with? And how do I even prompt it properly? That's exactly what we're going to be doing today. At the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to use Claude Cowork from scratch and most importantly, what to actually use it for. Now, before we dive in, if you're new to my channel, hi there, I'm Aishwarya Srinivasan and I'm super glad that you're here. I've spent over 10 years working in machine learning and AI. So you know any of the tips that I'm giving you is actually coming from an AI professional and not an influencer. I have a master's in data science from Columbia University and I've worked as a data scientist at companies like Microsoft, Google and IBM. I'm currently leading AI developer relations at Nebius in a fractional capacity while I'm building the Gen Academy. And our mission at Gen Academy is to upskill the next generation of AI builders and teach you real AI skills. Now before we jump into the workflows, I want to ground this in what Claude Cowork actually is because this is where people get confused. If you've been following Anthropic's releases, you would have probably heard of Claude Code. That was one of the first agent-style experiences that they introduced. The idea was powerful. You could give it tasks, it could operate across files, run multi-step workflows, and actually help you execute work instead of just chatting. But here is the catch. Claude Cowork was running primarily through the CLI, and for a lot of people that was a barrier. If you're not comfortable working inside a terminal, it just doesn't feel intuitive, even if the capacity was strong. So what Anthropic did next was actually very smart. They took the core idea behind Claude Code, which is outcome-driven multi-step execution, and wrapped it in a much more user-friendly interface. And that is what is Claude Cowork. The simplest way to think about it is this. Claude Cowork is essentially Claude Code with a better UI. Yes, if you go very deep, Claude Code gives you more customization. If you're doing very specific workflows or need fine-grained control, it can be useful. But for about 80% of the real-world use cases, you're not missing out anything by using Claude Cowork. And that's why this matters. It brings that agent-style way of working to a much broader audience. You don't need to be deeply technical, you just need to understand how to think in terms of outcomes instead of prompts. So, instead of asking, what should I ask Claude? I want you to start thinking, what do I want to produce and how can Claude help me get there faster? That shift is everything. Now, let's get started into how to actually use it. The biggest mistake people make when they are starting with Cowork is that they treat it like chat. They say things like summarize this or help me with this topic. That is not how you get started. Claude Cowork works best when you give it three things: a clear outcome, a clean context, and a defined format. So let's break that down step by step. Step 1 is defining the outcome. Before you even open the tool, ask yourself, what is the final artifact that I want? Is it a report? Is it a presentation? Is it a prototype? Is it a dashboard? Or is it a content piece? For example, don't say, help me analyze customer calls. Instead, say something like, I want a structured report with key insights, recurring themes, risks, and next steps. That clarity alone will improve your results dramatically. Now, step 2 is staging your inputs. This is something most people completely ignore. See, if you're working with files, create a clean folder. Only include relevant documents. Name them properly, remove duplicates, do that basic data cleaning. If your context is going to be messy, your output is going to be messy. Even the best models cannot fix chaotic inputs. Then step 3 is defining the format. This is where you control quality. Do you want a memo, a slide outline, a table, a dashboard structure, or an HTML output? Say it explicitly. The difference between saying something like summarize this and create a 2-page execution memo with sections for findings, risks, and recommendations is massive. Now, let's move into the most important part of this video, which is the real use cases which I want you to try. Also, one important thing, if you're using Claude Cowork, you cannot use that on the website. On the website, what you see is just a Claude chat. It is not Cowork. so it's not going to be doing agentic tasks for you. The only way that you can use Claude Cowork is by downloading the Claude application on your laptop. And another thing to note is that it's not available in the free Claude tier. This is not a sponsored video, but I can tell you that $20 that you're going to spend on Claude is going to be so worth it. I feel like get like $20,000 worth of work done with just that $20 subscription. So if you want to still give it a try, just take it for a month, see how you're using it, and then make a decision if you want a yearly plan. Now let's say you already have Cowork on your laptop. Here are a few things that you can do. The first use case is generating interactive HTML, animations, and dashboard style visuals. I use this all the time for my AI explainers. Let's say I'm trying to explain a technical concepts like how AI agent loop works, or how a retrieval pipeline behaves, or how multimodal systems process inputs. I could write a long explanation, but sometimes a visual makes it 10 times clearer. So what I do is go to Claude Cowork and say something like, I want you to create an interactive HTML explainer for this particular concept. It should be visually clean. I give it my brand colors. It needs to be beginner friendly and include a step-by-step transition, annotations, and modular sections. I ask it to use simple animations where needed, and the output needs to be in a full HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And then I just give it the concept. And in a few minutes, it comes back with the whole thing done. So getting this done in a few minutes is crazy. And I can use the same asset for doing my presentations or doing my explainer videos. The output that I'm getting here is not really a screenshot. It is a working prototype. You can obviously go and iterate on it. I might say simplify this, change some colors or layouts, or reduce the clutter, whatever I want. See, this is incredibly powerful for tech professionals. You can use it for demos, workshops, internal documentations, landing pages, onboarding materials, and even educational content. And the best part is you don't have to be a front-end expert or a designer. You just need clarity on what you're trying to build. Now, the second use case is building slides, but not the lazy kind of AI slides. I use Claude Cowork to actually structure strong presentations. For example, if I'm preparing for a workshop or a keynote, I just go and say something like, I'm building a 20-minute presentation for AI professionals. I want a narrative that starts with a concept, moves into setup, then workflows, then real-world use cases, and ends with advanced insights. So create a slide-by-slide outline with speaker points, visual ideas, and examples. It just builds the slide for me in whatever colors and styles that I can give it. Then I can refine it. I can ask it to make it more engaging. I can ask it to add some screenshots based on some surveys, or turn something into a diagram for simplifying the explanation. And it can even write speaker notes for me. This is extremely useful if you're in product, DevRel, engineering, or pretty much any role where communication is a big part of your job. Okay, now the third use case is detailed report writing. This is probably one of the highest ROI workflows. Let's say that you have customer call notes, meeting transcripts, product docs, and scattered insights. Turning all of that into a clean report manually can take time. So what I do is I just go to Claude Cowork and tell it to go through all the material and create a structured report with an executive summary, key findings, evidence-backed insights, whether there's any risks, and recommended next steps. What is really cool is Claude Cowork has a ton of connectors. So you can connect it with your Gmail, with your Slack, with your Notion, with your Granola or Fireflies, whatever note taker that you have, and it pulls from all of these sources, and it can actually go and write back into all of these sources, which makes it super efficient because now you're not just switching tabs. Okay, now another use case which is also super practical is personal productivity. So think about file organization, receipts, travel documents, or even planning workflows. For example, after a trip, I might just drop all the receipts into a document, into a folder, and say, extract the vendor, date, amount, and category, and organize them into a clean table. I can even tell it to create this table on Notion, and it'll go ahead and do that. That alone saves you hours. So you see this, right? Once you start thinking about Claude Cowork as an agentic tool and not just an AI chatbot, you can get so much done with it. It is more like a productivity layer on top of your work. Now, I want you to know 3 important things about Claude Cowork. The first thing is skills. Skills is nothing but really wrong prompts or really detailed prompts that you end up reusing again and again. Let's say, for example, one of the skills I use is for writing my blogs, which has detailed explanations of what is my writing style, my examples, how I structure my blogs, and every time I wanted to actually help me write a blog, I just call that skill. When I say call that skill, all I need to do is say / name of the skill and then give it more context about the new blog that I'm intending to write. So skills is nothing but a prompt library which you can invoke with just a backslash. Now the second thing is connectors. Connectors is nothing but what we spoke about earlier, which is getting connected with tools like Gmail, Slack, Notion, Granola, etc. So by connecting to these different tools, Claude Cowork can actually read and write from these tools. Then the third thing is plugins. Plugins is more like a workflow. So it's going to be a combination of connectors plus a bunch of different skills. So you can use these for specific tasks that you do very often. Now I know this was a lot for a YouTube video. I've tried to capture everything that you need to know about Claude Cowork. But if you want to go deeper into this, and I highly recommend you do, and get some hands-on with it, I have done a full 1-hour lightning lesson called Mastering Claude Cowork. It is much more detailed. We go step by step right from installation to actually building things. And you get to see exactly how these workflows play out in action. It's a free lesson and I've linked that in the description below. So definitely go check it out. And if this video got you excited about actually building with AI tools and not just watching tutorials, then you should definitely go check out my startup, the Gen Academy. I'm co-founding it with Arvind Narayan, who also is an AI professional and is a graduate from Carnegie Mellon University. And we are building it as an AI educational institute with one goal, which is to help people become the top 0.1% of AI professionals. It is designed for both coding as well as non-coding roles. So whether it's engineers, PMs, GTM, sales, anybody who wants to understand how modern AI systems actually work. Our flagship program is a 6-week live cohort called Mastering Agentic AI Systems Certification. Every week you're going to be building real projects. If you're technical, you'll write code and build these systems. If you're not, we have low code workflows so you can still build these real applications. The most exciting part is that we have partnered with companies like NVIDIA, Nebius, Llama Index, LangChain, AG2 and more. So you're learning directly from the teams building these ecosystems, and you get free tools from all of these companies. A quick tip here, a lot of people get this covered through their company's learning and development budget. So it's worth asking your manager to reimburse this course. There's also a special discount for my YouTube audience and you'll find that in the description below. And if you found this video helpful, drop a comment and let me know what you're going to be building with Claude Cowork. I'll see you in the next one.